Sometimes you look at a society and think, something just doesn't add up, right? Well, take South Korea. You've got churches on pretty much every corner, a huge population of believers, but at the same time, there's this persistent problem with crime and social hardship. It's a paradox, and it makes you ask, why? To get to the bottom of this, we're going to explore the pretty radical perspective of a Korean spiritual teacher, Master Chen Gong. And believe me, his answer flips the entire problem on its head.
All right, so here's our game plan. We'll start by really defining this Korean paradox. Then, we'll jump into his most controversial idea, that crime is society's fault, not the sinner's. From there, we'll unpack the real core of his philosophy, this critical difference between what he calls faith and true religion. Then we'll see why he thinks Korea is at this unique spiritual crossroads, before we finally get to the solution he offers, a simple but really profound path of inquiry. First up, let's just dig right into this paradox. What is it about Korean society that seems so contradictory when you just look at it from the outside?
This is the exact question that was put to Master Chen Gong. I mean, the logic seems pretty simple, doesn't it? More believers should equal less crime. But in Korea, that whole equation just isn't working out, which kind of forces us to question that basic assumption.
So instead of blaming individual sinners or, lack of piety, he just turns the whole problem on its head. He argues the fault isn't with the person, but with a deep, fundamental misunderstanding happening within society itself. Let's really dig into that diagnosis.
So, if the problem is societal, then where does all that responsibility lie? Well, this brings us to his first big point. It's the society, not the sinner, that we need to be looking at. His perspective just completely flips the script on blame. He doesn't see criminals as moral failures, but more like symptoms of a societal disease. They're like living, breathing messages that are telling us that the system, the one led by its intellectuals and leaders, is totally broken.
Okay, I know. That statement sounds pretty harsh, right? But his point is more logical than it is an insult. In his view, crime is just an irrational choice. It's something done by a person who hasn't been taught the basic principles of cause and effect, because the society around them completely failed to give them that education.
So the takeaway here is crystal clear. Punishing individuals is kind of like plucking dead leaves off a sick tree. You're just ignoring the roots. To really solve the problem, we have to heal the societal soil itself. And that leads us directly to the core of his entire argument.
So what is this societal sickness? Well, according to Master Chen Gong, it all comes from one core misunderstanding, a confusion between two powerful but very distinct ideas, faith and what he calls true religion.
This chart really nails the fundamental difference. On one side, you have faith, or shinang in Korean, which is this passive act of pleading for help, of seeking salvation. But on the other side, you have true religion, jongyo, and that's an active pursuit of understanding how the world actually works. His central claim? For thousands of years, humanity has been stuck in that first column, just pleading for help instead of learning how to help ourselves.
And what is this truth he keeps talking about? Well, it's not some huge, mystical, out-of-reach concept. He defines it really simply. It's understanding the principles of nature, the basic rules of how the universe operates. And learning this, he says, is the real purpose of true religion.
And here is the bombshell. He claims that all these religious institutions around the world have become experts at teaching people how to ask for help, how to have faith, but they've completely failed to build the bridge to true religion. And this broken bridge, he believes, is the root cause of all our social problems. It's like we're a whole society of people asking for fish, but absolutely no one is teaching us how to fish.
Now, this isn't just some global critique. He brings it right back to that original question about Korea. So let's see how this worldwide failure sets the stage for what he sees as South Korea's unique and unfulfilled duty to the world.
So, he lays out this history where Korea became this incredible melting pot for all the world's major religions. But instead of studying them, he says Koreans just imported and copied the surface-level stuff, the pleading, the bowing, all the rituals. They became experts in faith, but completely missed this historic opportunity to put all these traditions together and evolve towards true religion.
So, in his view, because all these spiritual streams flowed into Korea, a unique responsibility was created. He argues that it is now the destiny of the Korean people to study these traditions, to find the answer that finally bridges faith and understanding, and then to share that wisdom with all of humanity.
Okay, so if the goal is to learn instead of just believe, then how in the world do we do it? What's the actual method? Well, his answer isn't some new dogma. It's a totally new approach to finding knowledge itself.
His method is all about active inquiry. Step 1, you have to stop looking for someone or something to save you. Step 2 is to start asking questions about everything you don't get. Why you're struggling, what God is, how nature works. His role isn't to be worshipped, but to give you answers that line up with the principles of nature, so that you can finally understand it all for yourself.
And this quote just sums it all up perfectly. It makes it so clear. He is not a Messiah looking for followers. He's an educator looking for students. His whole purpose is to teach, to answer the questions that lead to understanding, which he believes is the only path to a healthy person and ultimately a healthy society.
And that leaves us with a really powerful question to think about for ourselves. If the real path to wisdom is through asking questions, then what does that say about all the systems that have taught us for centuries that the path is actually through unquestioning belief? It's a fundamental challenge to how we think about knowledge, faith, and even our own personal growth.